Did you distort who he is when you had him on the podcast and gave him a fucking hot stone massage in front of the country? Was that you distorting who he is? When he said to you that he never said, I never said lock her up about Hillary. The crowd would say it and I'd go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Was that you distorting who he is by not pushing back on that obvious bullshit? Is that what that was? No, when you sit there and play patty cakes with the man, somehow you're giving people the truth more so than the media that's critical. And look, to be fair, of course the media has been wrong plenty of times. But the fact of the matter is, at this late date, mainstream media is 20 times more solid than Joe Rogan is. You get more information and facts from even the worst mainstream media outlets than you do from Rogan when he plays patty cakes with Trump and J.D. Vance.
Hey, everybody. This is Troy over at Uncomfortable Truths. Thanks for checking me out. So today we've got to talk about our boy Kyle Kulinski because he is losing his mind still because Joe Rogan decided to go ahead and endorse Donald Trump, and Kyle can't handle that. He can't deal with the fact that some people disagree with him. In fact, most of the voters disagreed with him and decided to go for Trump.
Tradition holds that I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. There's nothing to say.
So what Kyle and other people on the left don't understand is that in a lot of ways, it doesn't really matter what the Democrats say. So Kyle can keep yelling until he's blue in the face that Kamala Harris was going to support workers and she was going to pass the PRO Act, and Biden promised that he was going to give us a public option, and Bernie promised that he was going to give us Medicare for all. Well, that's fine. They can go ahead and make all of these promises, but people have caught on that the Democrats aren't actually going to do anything. They're not going to help people whatsoever.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option.
Well, Joe, America's still waiting on that public option that you decided you weren't going to push, just like the rest of the promises that you didn't follow through on. And this isn't something that is only happening because of Joe Biden. This is what the Democrats have been doing for years. They run on these huge promises of sweeping change, and then they don't actually do anything, or maybe they tinker around the edges and usually screw things up worse, instead of actually helping the American people. But be honest with yourself. Do you really think that Trump and the other Republicans aren't going to follow through on their promises? Do you really think that Trump is not going to do mass deportations? So that is something that we know the Republicans are going to follow through on, and it's something that the American people actually want to see happen. Just like they want to see us pull out of all of these conflicts and not be involved in every single war going on all over the world, which is something the Democrats absolutely hate. But Kyle's going to go ahead and just completely ignore all of these things and just blame Joe Rogan and blame the American people for the fact that they don't trust the Democrats, regardless of all of Kyle's propaganda.
Jesus Christ, this is embarrassing. What's a psyop at this point, Joe, is your show. To pretend like the right is somehow anti-establishment and pro-worker and anti-corruption and anti-war. That's the psyop. The psyop is this bullshit that Trump is actually cool. Don't look at his record. Don't look at his record. The vibes are on point, and we love vibes. Yeah, real fucking intellectual.
So I thought this guy's whole thing was that independent media was going to be way better than mainstream media. But now that independent media is waking up to the fact that Democrats kind of suck and Republicans are actually the ones keeping us out of these wars, Republicans are the ones who did a better job handling the economy. Well, now that things in independent media aren't going his way, well, now we've got to trust mainstream media again. Now mainstream media is better just because they disagree with me. This guy's been going around for years telling you how useless mainstream media is and then just flips. Now all of a sudden, because they don't agree with everything that Kyle Kulinski has deemed to be true, all of a sudden they can't be trusted and we can't take them seriously. And this is actually kind of a shame because Kyle Kulinski used to be able to be trusted on some important issues like being anti-war and pro-freedom of speech. But since he's transformed into just a Democratic cheerleader, you can't really take anything this guy says seriously because he went from being somebody who supported Bernie Sanders and saying we can't just support any Democrat to going around saying, yeah, you should vote for Kamala Harris. Now, he is part of the establishment now. He's running around marrying millionaires, and he is so detached from what the average American is going through that he isn't really a solid voice on anything anymore when it comes to what the average American is going through because because that's not his experience at this point. So he's going to go on and just continue to complain because right-wing people are moving more towards Trump. But it isn't just right-wing people at this point. Trump won the popular vote. And yes, we are going to have comedians that are now making jokes about how ridiculous the left is. And you know why that is? It's because the left is ridiculous and they should be laughed at. And the country is realizing it at this point. And now our art is reflecting that, as you would expect. And he's going to go around and complain that comedians aren't soft enough on the Democrats.
So in other words, Rogan is taking his podcast to Mar-a-Lago. Let me ask you guys a question. If there was a comedian who decided, I'm going to snuggle up to Joe Biden, or I'm going to snuggle up to Kamala Harris, I'm going to get buddy-buddy with them and go to events with them and go to their fucking giant vacation home / White House of the South, how would these guys talk about it? What would they say? My guess is they would say, you're barely a comedian at all anymore, and you're a total partisan hack, and you're just snuggling up to power, and it's embarrassing, and this is not what comedy is supposed to be about. But when when Joe and his buddies go to Mar-a-Lago, it's a Don Jr. liked my tweet.
Are you serious, man? Are you really going to say there's not enough left-leaning comedians out cheerleading for the Democratic Party? That's absolutely ridiculous. What about Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, Jimmy Kimmel, Jon Stewart, Trevor Noah, Jim Gaffigan? The list goes on and on and on. Obviously, almost all of the late-night comedians are 100% in the can for the Democrats. And okay, more power to them. The thing is, people just don't think that's very funny. That's why Dave Chappelle is probably the most popular comedian that we have right now. One of the most successful comedians that we have right now. Because he's not just going out there cheerleading for the Democrats. So people aren't actually supporting all of these left-leaning comedians. So Kyle isn't just mad that there's not enough people supporting his side. He's mad that the American people don't actually think that that shit's funny anymore, and they're tired of being scolded for having their own realistic beliefs about the world and not actually just running around and accepting everything that Democrats say with a smile on their face.
Yeah, I think I got one more. Here we go. So this is a little bit of a change of pace here. Rogan is going to point out that Zelensky wanted to come on his show because Rogan went viral recently for a clip talking about how Ukraine is now firing some long-range missiles into Russia. And Joe went on this rant where he's basically like, we're on the brink of World War III. Hey, fuck you, man, for firing those rockets. Fuck you. This is what Rogan said. This went viral online. A bunch of people literally from Ukraine and pro-Ukrainian people were like, we got invaded by Russia illegally and we're fighting back and you're saying fuck you to us? That was their reaction.
And Kyle's ignoring a couple of pretty important things here, such as the fact that we promised we would not expand NATO, and now we're trying to put NATO right up to their doorstep, and we're even entertaining the idea, which is insane by the way, that we would allow Ukraine to join NATO while they are in the middle of a war with Russia, which would obviously require that all of the NATO countries come to support Ukraine. It's a horrible idea and shouldn't be entertained. Also, Ukraine has canceled elections. They have banned books. Ukraine is not some sort of great nation that we should be protecting. They're anti-democratic and they do not deserve our support. The reason that we are supporting Ukraine has nothing to do with morality and it has nothing to do with defending democracy. That's just something that Kyle and the other Democrats are making up.
He turned down Zelensky. Now, look, I'm in favor of getting all sides of the story, right? You want to have on Dave Smith to give his take? Sure, no problem with that whatsoever. But to not have on Zelensky, Joe, why would you not have on Zelensky?
Now, Kyle's just lying here because it's pretty clear why Joe Rogan might not want to have Zelensky on his podcast. Because Zelensky has been going all over the world begging for money and begging for weapons so that he can prolong this war that we all know how it's going to end. Russia is going to end up with part of Ukraine as their permanent territory. And the sad part about this is that a lot of the death was completely unnecessary. And Joe Biden and Zelensky prolonging this war has cost Ukraine almost an entire generation of young men. But Kyle's welcome to go ahead and keep doing apologetics and keep telling other people, no, you should have this guy on your show so that he can continue to spread his lies and we can continue to prolong this conflict and cost more people their lives and their livelihoods as we see more and more of Ukraine get destroyed. If that's the avenue that he wants to take, more power to him, I guess. But everybody, that's all we have on this one today. Unfortunately, we're seeing Kyle go downhill as he becomes more and more of a Democratic apologist. But do me a favor, go ahead, hit like and subscribe, and share the uncomfortable truths with everybody. Take care.